Okay, so let's see these articles which I have got from Google. You can just search this articles headings on the Google, and you will find these articles there. So let's start with it. There's actually 1 week past I have these articles with me, but because of some reasons I could not post this video early. So let's look into it quickly. It says from it's in this an article by Daily Sabah, which tells us that there are almost 250 million people in 20 countries are threatened by a famine, and this UN agency who warns it. So again, one more article which says UN warns of famine of biblical proportion within the next year. So they are telling that this famine will be of a biblical proportion, and the Bible itself predicts it, that there is going to be a famine, and of course it will be a proportion of the biblical times. So you see another article which says famines could break out in dozens of countries in the developing world due to the effects of COVID-19. This of November 16 this year. This another articles by an Indian news article which says, amid farmer protest, Navjot Singh Sidhu claims country on a path of extreme hunger. So this is our country, India. Of course, India will also face famine and many other calamities which will affect their food production. Another article which says UN warns of an impending famine within millions in danger of starvation. If you have not seen the part 1, which was about God's judgment upon the land, which I gave you a Bible study about how God is bringing his judgment for a reason, that people should repent. We saw in that video that the one quote from Ellen White, which was telling that India, China, Russia and the cities of America, they're going to face a problem of starvation, and that will lead into a civil war. What she was trying to say was that the money men, the rich people who control the market, they buy things at a low rate and they sell it at a high price. So the other poor classes are not able to buy such costly foods, and so what they do, they starve to death, and this will cause a civil war. So this is what is happening. Famine, there is going to be a less food production, and the rich people are going to get that, but the poor classes, they are going to miss it. There's another article is of from African News Locals, which says that locals eat white clay mixture as famine hits southern Madagascar. This is just recently, which was on 4th December this year. I want to show you this one video which is talking about there's going to be a famine. It's going to be worse. This video is around 2-3 months back, which the same agencies of UN warned.
Meanwhile, the United Nations has warned that the world risks famines of possibly biblical proportions because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, David Beasley, the head of the United Nations Food Relief Agency, the World Food Programme, has said that more than 250 million people could be left starving within months as the pandemic hits the global food production. In a report, the agency has said that more than 30 developing nations could experience widespread famines.
Dealing with COVID-19 pandemic, we're also on the brink of a hunger pandemic. In my conversations with world leaders over the past many months, before the coronavirus even became an issue, I was saying that 2020 would be facing the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II for a variety of reasons.
Now, according to the global report on the food crisis, conflict-hit nations such as Afghanistan, Yemen, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nigeria and Syria are most vulnerable to famines. Now, the report further added that locust outbreaks had also threatened food production in places such as East Africa and South Asia even before the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the World Food Programme has called on the United Nations members and international partners to provide financial aid to ward off the humanitarian catastrophe.
So as you saw that video, we are going to lose many things. many things, and people who are rich are going to get what they want. People who are poor are going to lose their life because they have no things for, they don't have food to eat. There's a problem in the church also, in God's church, where people are not realizing, God's people are not realizing that if they do nothing about the future situation which are going to come, they're going to lose their life physically, and the spiritually relationship will be gone. The spiritual relationship with Jesus will be of what they spend time with God. If they don't prepare for things which are going to come for the future, they can lose their relationship with Jesus. So what we need is a healthy lifestyle, a life out of cities, because we cannot grow food properly in cities. There are many pollution, air pollution, which will the plants can die because of that air. It's not a clean air, and many other different causes, which is worse. Our health can be degraded by those environments. So what we need is a healthy lifestyle. We need a life out of cities. So I have some quotes by Ellen White, which will give us counsel, which is directly from God. Let's see this. Here in this paragraph it says, this is from book Adventist Home. I just selected few paragraphs, few quotes which are only from Adventist Home, and which talk about what we should do, how we should start. So let's look into it. It says here in Adventist Home 373, second paragraph, talking about a life out of cities. It says, educate our people to get out of cities into the country, where they can obtain a small piece of land and make a home for themselves and their children. And not only we are to do this, but also to bring more people into the countryside and out of the cities. Why? Because they'll have a healthy relationship with Jesus. Another paragraph which says, encourage children to earn their own money, which says many who live out of the city can have a little plot of land where he can learn to garden. He can be taught to make this a means of securing money to give to the cause of God. Both boys and girls can engage in this work. It will, if they are rightly instructed, teach them the value of money, how to economize. It is for the children, beside raising money for missionary purposes, to be able to help in buying their own clothes, and they should be encouraged to do this. We are to encourage each and every children to earn their own money, to keep securing the money and not waste it for useless purposes, not to waste it for anything what they want, but to invest it in a missionary purpose. In the next paragraph it says, which is from Adventist Home 508, fourth paragraph, it says, a program for students that God blessed. So this is talking about students, which a program which God has given to his people. It says here, part of each day was spent in useful work. The students learning how to clear the land, how to cultivate the soil, and to build houses in time that would otherwise have been spent in playing games and seeking amusement. And the Lord blessed the students who has thus devoted their time to learning lessons of usefulness. Children who waste their time in playing amusement games, instead of doing that, if we would learn to plant, if we would learn to build houses, it would be very useful. And next paragraph it says, employments that will qualify us in God. God has provided useful employments for the development of health, and this useful employment will also qualify students to be a help to themselves and to others. Next paragraph says, in the place of providing diversions that merely amuse, arrangements should be made for exercise that will be productive of good. This is what we need. Another paragraph says, missionary activity is an ideal exercise. It says, there are plenty of necessary, useful things to do in our world that would make the pleasure, amusement, exercise almost wholly unnecessary. We like to do those things which will make us enjoy the exercise, which will not improve our health but only to fulfill our desire, that exercise is of no use. Where here God tells us that our brain, bone and muscles will acquire solidity and strength in using them to a purpose, doing good, hard thinking and devising plans, which shall train them to develop power of intellect, strength of physical organs, which will be putting into practical use to their God-given talents, with which they may glorify God. Now by this I understand that our brains, bones, muscles, everything, our physical activity, our mental activity, our spiritual activity should only be done to glorify God. And she says that it will help us in the devising plans, hard thinking and doing good. That will strengthen not only our health but also our brain, our mind, our soul and our relationship with Jesus. This is what we need. And this paragraph is very powerful. Just read it by yourself, and I am also going to a little bit explain to you. But this should be an individual work also, not only by me, but you have to also see this personally and individually. You have to study by yourself and see what God tells you. So here God is telling us that it is our duty ever to seek to do good. In the use of the muscles and brain God has given to the youth, that they may be useful to others, not only to ourselves but also to the others, making their labors lighter, soothing their sorrows, lifting up the discouraged, speaking words of comfort to the hopeless, turning the minds of the students from fun and frolic, which often carries them beyond the dignity of manhood and womanhood, to shame and disgrace. The Lord would have the mind evaluated, seeking higher and nobler channels of usefulness. This is what God is telling us, that every youth should have this. It is our duty ever to seek to do good, not only to ourselves but also to others, those who are discouraged, those who have no hope, those who have discomfort in their life. We are to give them comfort, to encourage them and to show them hope, in not in ourselves but in God. This is our duty. Now, as we have told you many times, that what we need is a healthy lifestyle. What we need is a life out of cities. Let me show you this one more quote from Ellen White, which is in Desire of Ages, page 121. I'm just going to read it. You will see this quote on your screen. Let me read it to you, but you have to by your own self have to understand it. I'll read to you. It says, in the last great conflict of the controversy with Satan, those who are loyal to God will see every earthly support cut off, because they refuse to break his law in obedience to earthly powers. They will be forbidden to buy or sell. It will finally be decreed that they should be put to death. See Revelation chapter 13 verse 11 to verse 17. But the obedient is given the promise, he shall dwell on high, his place of defense shall be the munition of the rocks. Bread shall be given him, his water shall be sure. Isaiah 33 verse 16. By this promise the children of God will live. When the earth shall be wasted with famine, they shall be fed. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. Psalms 37 verse 19. To that time of distress the prophet Habakkuk looked forward. His words express the faith of the church. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall the fruit be in the vine, and the labor of the olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herb in the stall. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will joy in the God of my salvation. Habakkuk 3 verse 17 and 18. There is a promise to us. This is what God wants us to have faith in Him. I have just read it to you, this quote, but you have to deeply study this. That I don't just want you to listen to me, but you yourself also have a personal relationship. having individually having your own Bible study, that you should find God by yourself. For it is not through me you can be saved, but it is only through God. So it is our duty to not only listen to what God is telling us to do, but also to do them, to seek ever to do good. It is not by our works, but it is through the work of Jesus Christ, in whom only can we be saved. So keep this in mind, that if we don't have a relationship with Jesus, then we are already dead. We should not be having faith in ourselves or believe ourselves, but we should keep our mind on God every time, each second of our life, that we may be secured by Jesus Christ. Let us see to have a life out of citizens, and to grow our own food, to eat our own food, which God, through God, who will grow it for us, and that we should have the faith, claim the promises of God. This is our important part of our duty. So be faithful and keep praying for each and every one of us.